Okay, so today we are going to be talking about multiplying and dividing functions. So again, just kind of like last time, we're going to be given a set of functions here. And now again, f of x, g of x, those are basically just your outputs, right? The f, the g, the h, those are just basically identifying what the name of the function is. So if I see a g down here, I know that it's talking about the g function right here, which is just x squared plus 2. Okay? And then what we have here, whatever's in the parentheses, that's your input. So we default to x, right? And wherever you see x in the equation is where you put or input things, right? So for example, let's look at number 1. So number 1 has h of 2 on the top of a fraction. The h equation's right here, negative x. So h of x is negative x, but h of 2, I would replace that x with a 2. So it would be a negative and then my input. And when I plug things in, I always put it in parentheses. Okay, even though I know it's going to be negative 2, I'm going to put it in parentheses because that's a good habit to have. Because parentheses help us keep things straight and do the proper order of operations, basically, with these functions. It's very important that you use parentheses with function notation. So g of 12 is on the bottom here, right? So I'm going to look at the g equation, and it's x squared plus 2. So I'm going to replace the x with 12. So it would be 12 and then squared plus 2. Again, I put it in parentheses, even though it's not going to make too much of a difference. It will in the long run when we do these, so just being in the habit of putting them in parentheses is a good habit. So negative in parentheses, that's going to become negative 2. And then 12 squared would be 144, plus 2 would be 146. Okay, so that's going to simplify down to negative 2 over 146, or I can simplify it even further to negative 1 over 73. And that's as simple as it's going to go. That's all my answer is. So basically we plug things in and we get them down to its simplest form and then simplify if we can. It's not that hard with the division because it should be pretty obvious. You just solve each one individually and then look at them and then simplify it if you can with division. Multiplication, I mean, pretty much the same idea. We're going to solve them down to a single number and then do the multiplying last. So g of 5 and h of negative 2 are what we're trying to multiply here. So g, again, is x squared plus 2. So it would become 5 squared plus 2. Now with multiplying, I'm going to put parentheses around the whole thing so I don't get them confused. And when I have two parentheses next to each other, that just means they're multiplying. So it's just another way of saying multiply when you put parentheses next to each other. And then I'm plugging in negative 2 in for negative x, so it'd be negative 2 in the parentheses. Okay, now let's simplify these down. So 5 squared is 25, plus 2 would be 27. So this side goes down to 27. And then negative 2 would just be positive 2. Okay, and now I'm going to multiply. The parentheses next to each other means that they're multiplying. So 27 times 2 would be 54. Right? Yeah. 54 would be my answer. Comes down to a nice, even number like that. Okay, let's look at another example. This one's a little bit different. The f of x does not have an input. So it's just going to stay this equation right here, because this is already f of x, right? So f of x is 2x minus 4. So this one I'm going to have an equation as my answer, basically. So f of x is 2x minus 4. Okay, and then h of negative 2, we already found that. It was positive 2, right? Now, when you have an equation that is dividing like this, I'm going to allow you guys to use two different answers. So you can set it up like this and stop. That can be an answer. Or if it does divide evenly to each term, because this 2 is dividing both terms, right? If it divides evenly to both terms, you can simplify it. So the 2's would cancel out there, and 4 divided by 2 would be 2. So you could also write it as x minus 2. Either of those answers are acceptable. I will take either answer for this unit. Okay? Let's do a couple more here just to make sure we got it. So let's look at k to the second. So k is x to the third plus 5. So we're going to plug in 2 for the x, so 2 to the third plus 5, and then f of negative 3. So we're going to replace the x with negative 3, so it'll be 2 times negative 3 plus 5. Okay, let's simplify those. So 2 squared, or 2 to the third is 8. 8 plus 5 is 13. And then 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And plus 5 would be negative 1. Okay, so 13 divided by negative 1 would just be negative 13. And that'd be your answer. Okay, so again, you just plug the number in for x into the equations, simplify it, and then do the operation, divide or multiply. We'll do one more. So let's look at number 9. So number 9, we have g of negative 3, so we're going to plug in negative 3 in for the x. So negative 3 squared plus 2, and then that's going to multiply with, and again, when I multiply, just put everything in parentheses, j of 4. J is 2x squared minus 1. So 2 parentheses 4 squared minus 1. Okay, that's going to be a key one that you need to make sure to use parentheses. Same with this one, because if you don't use parentheses, you're going to get it wrong. Because if you plug negative 3 squared in your calculator without the parentheses, it's going to give you negative 9, which is the wrong answer. Because negative 3 squared would actually be positive 9, plus 2 would be 11. So there's 1. That would be g of negative 3. And then 4 squared is 16, times 2 would be 32, minus 1 would be 31. Okay. Then we multiply those, and 31 times 11 is a number. It'd be 341. And that'd be your answer. Okay, not too bad. Let's do one more just to make sure. Okay, so if we look at 22 on the next page, we have two equations that are multiplying that both don't have inputs. So if this happens, basically all I want you guys to do is to just set it up. So put the two equations next to each other in parentheses, implying that they're multiplying. So f of x was 2x minus 4, right? So set that up, and then in parentheses, j of x was 2x squared minus 1. And that's all I want you guys to do this year. You'll do a lot more of this next year in secondary 2. This is actually a quadratic problem, so you will deal with these a lot in secondary 2. Okay, that's pretty much it. If you, well, there are some, here, I'll do one of these. Sorry, one more. So let's look at this one. There's 3 here. I know it's pretty much the same. You guys could probably do this without the example, but I'll give you an example. So there's 3 here, so you just set it up just like before, but you're going to have 3 things multiplying. So j of negative 2. So it would be 2 times negative 2 squared minus 1, multiplying with h of negative 3. So negative 3, and then k of 2. K was x to the third plus 5. Okay. So let's go through these and simplify them down, and then we'll multiply them. So negative 2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 minus 1 is 7. Negative 3 would be positive 3. And 2 to the third is 8. Plus 5 would be 13. So we're just multiplying all 3 of these numbers. 7 times 3 times 13. So 7 times 3 times 13 is 273. And that's all you'd be doing for that one. Okay, if you have any questions or concerns, ask your teachers. We're here to help. We want to help. We just need you guys to ask. So have a good day, and we'll see you out there.